It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
Thanks for tuning in to TV20's Weekly News Wrap-Up. I'm Leah Haslage. The City of Cleveland's Aging and Disability Resource Center held a special luncheon at Public Hall for Disability Awareness Day. Aging Services Administrator Tanisha Hunter says this luncheon also corresponds with a special anniversary.
So it's the 11th Annual Disability Awareness Day Luncheon, and what makes this year so special is that it's also the 25th anniversary of the signing of the ADA. So we're making it big this year and moving it over to Public Hall. Usually we had it in City Hall, Rotunda, but this year, since it's so special, we had it over here at Public Hall.
Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson was on hand to welcome attendees to the luncheon and give praise to Cleveland Councilman Kevin Conwell for his advocacy work for those with disabilities.
I remember when I was council president and Councilman Conwell came into office, one of the first things he did was wanted to raise the level of awareness for disability. And this event and all of the things that we do around disability has his handprint and his fingerprints on. So I want to thank him very much for what he does.
Guests were treated to an exciting musical performance from the Bridges Rehabilitation Services Choir, who performed songs from the King of Pop, Michael Jackson. The luncheon ended with a spectacular performance by Cleveland's own world-renowned dance troupe, Dancing Wheels. For more information on the Cleveland Department of Aging, call 216-664-2833. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. The Cleveland Clinic held their 13th annual Medical Innovation Summit at the First Merit Convention Center recently, inviting those in the medical field from all over the world to meet with vendors and hear guest speakers talk on the latest in medical technologies. Cleveland Clinic's Chief Innovation Officer, Dr. Thomas Graham, was more than pleased to welcome the 2,000 people from 34 states and 13 countries to the summit.
Over the last decade and a half, our brilliant caregivers have delivered some of the most important advances in technique and technology that have shaped modern healthcare. This year, the neurosciences take center stage as the theme of our Medical Innovation Summit.
Also greeting the summit's attendees was Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson.
Medical innovation gets us a couple of things. To me, the primary thing is it allows us, both you and Cleveland, our medical institutions, to provide for medical services to people that allows them to have a healthier and longer life.
City of Cleveland Economic Development Director Tracy Nichols is extremely excited that the summit is taking place in Cleveland.
We're excited about it because it really gives us an opportunity to, A, show off a little bit about Cleveland. We've got some great stuff here. The Health Tech Corridor is booming. There's plenty of space. We have a low cost of living. Last year, there was $238 million of venture capital in the city of Cleveland. That was double the year before and one of the highest in the Midwest. So we're very excited about the fact that we have the funds here, we have the quality of life, we have a great cost of living, and we have this incredible innovation and rich source of all kinds of innovation and technology through our universities and through our great hospitals like Cleveland Clinic and University Hospitals.
Cuyahoga County Executive Armand Budish said the Medical Innovation Summit was a perfect fit for the city of Cleveland because innovation was what helped make Cleveland the city it is today.
Innovation is nothing new for Cleveland. It's in our DNA. A century ago, Cleveland was the Silicon Valley for the Industrial Revolution. We could boast more inventions and more patents per capita than anywhere in America. People here were smart, creative, and willing to take a chance. And you know what? They still are.
In 2012, the Cleveland Municipal Court created the ROCK program, which stands for Redirecting Our Curfew Kids, as a way to hold parents accountable when their children aren't staying in the classroom. At least 80 parents were recently summoned to Jane Addams High School for arraignment proceedings in regards to their children's curfew law violation.
Most of these cases are people who have kids who were not in school during the day. These are daytime curfews. So they're really supposed to be in school between the hours of 9-ish and 3. So if they're not, they get picked up and the parents get charged. So ROCK, which is an acronym for Redirecting Our Curfew Kids, is a program that was established by Judge Groves to make sure that parents had other options instead of just paying a fine and having the same problem with their children not going to school persist.
We asked Judge Moore what she thought of the parents' reaction to the citations.
Well, one of the things that disturbed me a little bit was the excuses that parents make for their children. And I understand that there's always a special case where your kid might have to be late or show up to school late or leave early. But those things need to be documented. There needs to be more communication between the parents and the school. And if we have that, then they probably won't get a ticket. But a lot of people did have documentation of why their children were not in school, and I did find them not guilty, so justice did prevail. But I was still disturbed by a number of parents who did not grasp the importance of making sure their kids were in school, that it was no big deal. And that's part of the problem. And so I think we need to do a community-wide re-education program to let people know that if you want productive kids and you want good citizens, they have to be in school. And that's one of the hallmarks of a civilized society. When you have educated children, you have educated parents, and just a whole family, a whole village that recognizes the value and importance of education.
An educational luncheon was held at the City Hall Rotunda from the city's Wellness Works Department to promote breast cancer awareness and answer any questions women may have.
We talked about the fact that breast cancer isn't preventable, but there are things that you can do in your everyday life to kind of be aware of breast cancer and combat some of those changes in your body. So there are some conflicting guidelines, and we really just believe that you should have the conversation with your doctor starting at age 40.
For more prevention tips and information, visit ComanAnyOhio.com. Lead poisoning has been found in objects and surfaces we use every day, but there are ways to prevent exposure. Here's Director of Public Health, Toinette Perilla, with more.
Hello, my name is Toinette Perilla. I'm the Director for the Cleveland Department of Public Health. Lead poisoning is a preventable threat to our children's future success. Lead has been removed from gasoline and paint, but it may still be found in older homes built before 1978, especially in paint, dust, and soil. Testing of every child up to the age of 6 is recommended. If your child has not been tested this year, please have them tested. If you are pregnant, consider having yourself checked for lead exposures as well. Exposure to dust, dirt, and other items that contain lead continue to harm children in Cleveland. Sources of lead can be from microscopic traces of lead dust from damaged painted surfaces, but many other sources should also be considered, such as plastic toys made outside the United States, cosmetics and medicines that were produced outside of the United States may also contain lead, as well as poorly maintained painted surfaces and lead pipes. So it is important to routinely clean all surfaces children can reach, to also assist them to wash their hands before they eat or drink anything. It's very important that we work together to reduce lead exposures. The reality is, we cannot test our way out of this very serious health issue. Our strongest and most powerful weapons include ensuring that your house is lead-free, clean your floors and windowsills often, and make sure your children are washing their hands before eating, after playing outside, and before bed. It's also important to keep painted surfaces in very good shape, and together we'll continue to work hard, continue to move the needle forward in the direction of reducing initial lead exposures and improving health outcomes for our children and our future. Please feel free to visit our website for more information at clevelandhealth.org. Thank you.
We'll be right back with more Weekly News Wrap-Up.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
The inherent right to work is one of the elemental privileges of a free people. Endowed, as our nation is, with abundant physical resources, and inspired as it should be with the high purpose to make those resources and opportunities available for the enjoyment of all. We approach this problem of re-employment with the real hope of finding a better answer than we have now.
Welcome back to TV20's Weekly News Wrap-Up. This past summer, the City of Cleveland held their annual gun buyback program, collecting hundreds of guns and getting them off the street. So what happened to all those weapons? TV20 reporter Dan Monroe has the answer, and it may surprise you.
Guns. Lots of guns. Taken off the streets thanks to the City of Cleveland's summer gun buyback program. So now what happens? I'm here at the ArcelorMittal steel plant where the guns will be melted down and used to help make steel.
This facility has been making steel along this river for now over 100 years. This year alone we will make over 3 million tons of steel, and most of that's staying in the state of Ohio. We've been part of this gun buyback program here since 2009, and over the past 9 years thousands of guns have been turned in, making our neighborhoods safer and our streets safer.
Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson laments the loss of innocent lives to gun violence, but applauds the gun buyback program as a great way to remove guns from the streets.
Violence, and particularly gun violence, is a major social issue not only in Cleveland but throughout this country. And it is not only creating havoc in neighborhoods, it's also taking the lives of innocent people. So we look forward to every year having these gun buyback programs so that we can take guns out of the hands of people who don't want guns, or out of the hands of someone who may break into somebody's house, or some child who may wind up having access to those guns and use those guns in a way that will result in somebody's harm.
Cleveland Police Chief Calvin Williams said that while it's a right to own guns, with that right comes great responsibility.
People are allowed through the Second Amendment to own guns in this country, but they have to take responsibility for that. They have to ensure that those weapons are secure where they have them. And we, as a society, as a city, have to make sure that people who do not legally have the right to possess and own firearms don't have them. We have to get them out of their hands.
Once all the speeches were made, it was time to melt down the guns. So what's all involved?
First, all of the guns will be placed into an iron ladle. Then approximately 200 tons of molten iron supplied from our blast furnace operations in a submarine-shaped car will be poured into the iron ladle on top of the guns. By the time we are finished pouring the molten iron, which is at a temperature of approximately 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, into the iron ladle, the guns will be completely and utterly destroyed.
The pit of glowing hot molten steel is so bright, it's almost like looking into the sun. As each gun is tossed in and destroyed, you can almost feel better knowing that there is one less gun on the streets of Cleveland. For TV20, I'm Dan Monroe.
I want to introduce you to some amazing kids and some equally amazing parents. At a very early age, these kids were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Their lives revolve around the constant monitoring and treatment of their blood sugar, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for the rest of their lives. They have an ally, though, in the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, or JDRF. This is their story.
The mission of JDRF is to find a cure for type 1 diabetes and its complications through the support of research. Basically, we exist to put ourselves out of business. We are trying to find a cure for type 1. On the path to finding that cure, we're also looking at things that can prevent and treat type 1 diabetes as well.
So my daughter, Samantha, has type 1 diabetes. She was diagnosed when she was 3.
There's so many misconceptions about what type 1 diabetes is. It's very different than type 2. These kids don't have diabetes because they've been sitting around playing video games. They have an autoimmune disease. Somewhere along the line, their body decided that their pancreas no longer belonged there. So if you think about it in terms of a switch got flicked, and basically their body actively kills off their pancreas and those insulin-producing cells.
She had been ill for a couple of weeks. We couldn't quite figure out what the problem was, and then became very, very thirsty, drinking more water than you would ever imagine from a 3-year-old child. And ultimately our daycare suggested we took her to the doctor, and so we did. And they diagnosed her on the spot with type 1 or juvenile diabetes and sent us immediately to Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital.
So typically what happens in a type 1 diabetes diagnosis is you get sick. Most of these kids probably had either flu-like symptoms or symptoms that felt like, to the parent, something not quite being right. And they go into their doctor and they get a simple urine or blood test. Once you have sugar in your urine or sugar in your blood and you're a child, you automatically are a type 1 diabetic.
So technology has come an incredibly long way in terms of helping us treat this disease more effectively on a day-to-day basis.
So a lot of the devices you saw today, the kids using, the pump, the CGM, it's a continuous glucose monitor, better meters, better insulin. We're raising money to push the pharma companies to produce better products so to make these kids' lives a little easier.
This is my daughter, Maribel, and she wears on her arm the Dexcom. It's a continuous glucose monitor, and what that does is it reads the sugar level in her blood every 5 minutes. And that's really great because she doesn't have to do as many finger pokes throughout the day, because again, we do need to monitor this 24/7, 365 for the rest of her life. So a benefit that we have from Dexcom is the continuous glucose monitoring, which that is what that is, and it feeds to this here, which is a receiver. And that receiver reads out her blood sugar level, and it also gives an arrow whether she's steady or trending downward or trending upward.
What a pod is it's a meter that gives you insulin 24 hours a day. Like my pod, I don't have it on. It's on the other side. It's on the other side. Mine delivers 0.4 every hour. I used to have 7 to 10 shots a day, and but this one is just 3 days.
These kids go into the hospital and face what every child is terrified of, a lifetime of shots. So they are truly heroes that you're hearing from today.
Valerie McCall, who is the Chief of Government and International Affairs for the City of Cleveland, has been on the Board of Trustees for the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority since 2006, where she has shown her passion and commitment to the transportation industry. Recently, the American Public Transportation Association has selected Chief McCall to be their chairman of their Board of Directors. To celebrate her great achievement, local and national dignitaries gathered at Take 5 in downtown Cleveland to honor Chief McCall on her new role.
Valerie has really educated me on public transportation and the importance of RTA as an entity, not only for now but the future, and for after as an organization, and the importance of the policies and the things that can happen on a national level, really international level, not only in terms of public transportation, but the economics around that. So she's done a great job. Done a great job for RTA. She's doing a great job for AFTA, and I do believe that it will probably not be the same afterwards either.
So on behalf of Cleveland City Council President Kevin Kelly and the members of Cleveland City Council, this whole thing says that Valerie J. McCall is phenomenal. And we love her, we want her to shine at AFTA.
So I've known Valerie for about a year, and it was about a year ago on the executive board of AFTA that we both serve on. And I met Valerie, and so what have I learned in the last year? Well, first, she gets things done. I think Joe said kick butt. I don't know if Valerie kicks butt. She's got great vision. She knows everybody, and if she doesn't know them, she knows them in 5 minutes like she's known them forever.
Dr., Chief, Madam President, Madam Chairman, Valerie McCall, my friend.
I wasn't supposed to speak, but thank you. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. Can we give RTA a round of applause, please? And this is important for a lot of reasons. I could not stand here today if the mayor did not appoint me to the RTA board, but also if RTA did not see the ability in me to lead. So again, thank you, George. Those of us who rode RTA or ride RTA, or you know someone who is transit dependent, either by choice or because they don't have a choice, it's very important what we do. As well as the sponsors that are here, this is the transportation industry. It is one of the nation's leading industries, and it is important that APTA, as the leading voice in that, continue to thrive, continue to advocate, continue to support. And so to stand here today with GCRTA, but most importantly, APTA, Ohio Public Transportation Association, says a lot, and I am very, very honored.
With more than 27 years of service under his belt, Pete Stewart has retired as Chief Inspector for the City of Cleveland's Department of Building and Housing.
I hired on in April of '88 as a housing inspector. I was a housing inspector for 2 years. I took the state test, became a building inspector. I worked as a building inspector for 7 years, and I was given the job as Chief Inspector of the 4th District, which is now a 3rd District. And I was basically a manager of building inspectors and housing inspectors.
Along with his family, Pete had a special meeting with Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson, where he received a proclamation honoring his years of work for the city. Family is very important to Pete. He says in retirement, he hopes to get to know them all over again.
When I got the job, we had 3 of the kids were in diapers, and it was a great job. And I've kind of had the blinders on for all these years, and it's kind of nice to think that I'm taking these blinders off and to get to know them all over again, and to help them in any way that, how life is.
Everyone here at TV20 would like to thank Mr. Stewart for his years of service to the community and wish him well on his retirement. We'll be back with more Weekly News Wrap-Up.
Hey, what are you doing?
Just throwing your empty bottle in the garbage.
Don't you know plastics go in the blue container?
Mayor Frank Jackson and the City of Cleveland are committed to keeping your neighborhood clean and green through the use of the city-issued trash and recycling carts. It's safe, convenient, and mandatory. For more information, contact the Cleveland Division of Waste Collection at 216-664-3717.
How did you get to be so smart?
I had a good teacher.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours.
Dr. King, what's your next move? A march from Selma to Montgomery.
Selma is loud for every man, woman, and child. We will not wait any longer. In front of a crowd. Mine eyes have seen the glory. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Welcome back to TV20's Weekly News Wrap-Up. The Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Foundation teamed up with the Cleveland Cavaliers for their 14th annual Halloween Run for Justice. As TV20 reporter Dan Monroe tells us, it was more fun than spooky.
The Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association teamed up with the Cleveland Cavaliers to host their 14th annual Run for Justice Fun Run. One of the purposes of the CMBA is to give back to the community through their charitable arm, the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Foundation.
The Bar Association is a volunteer group of attorneys. We have about 6,000 members from around Northeast Ohio. We are a professional organization, and this race actually benefits our charitable arm. We have a charity, the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Foundation. It raises money for the programs that our lawyers do in the community.
Well, the funds that we'll raise in today's race will go directly to our programs out in the Cleveland schools, where we've reached more than 25,000 kids.
There were many races taking place at this year's event, perfect for the casual runner or for the family who would like to take a leisurely walk.
We've got a 5K race, we've got a family walk, and maybe a couple things in between, because as you can see, it's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, a lot of kids. We've got costumes, we've got the Cavaliers. You know, it's just really fantastic.
Being a Halloween race, participants were encouraged to dress up in their best costumes, and for this year's race, they did not disappoint. Mayor Jackson was at the opening ceremonies for the run and would later go on to officially start the race.
I want to welcome everyone to the 14th annual Cleveland Bar Association Foundation race for Halloween, and I also want to congratulate them on their success. They tell me that the participants this year is much higher than all the other previous years. I want to thank the Cleveland Cavaliers, because without them, I don't think we would have been as successful. So again, good morning. Welcome to downtown Cleveland. Have a good race. Be safe. Thank you.
The runners patiently waited for Mayor Jackson to start the race. At the Galleria for TV20, I'm Dan Monroe.
Congratulations to the Cleveland Division of Animal Care and Control City Dogs program, which was awarded the 2015 Bright Ideas Award during the Great Lakes Animal Welfare Conference held in Battle Creek, Michigan. The award is presented annually to 5 animal shelters in the Great Lakes region that has developed innovative ideas in the field of animal control. The City Dogs program works to increase kennel adoptions by changing how the public perceives pit bull and pit bull mixes, which are the majority of the dogs in the kennel. If you'd like more information on the City Dogs program and how you can volunteer or adopt one of these great dogs, call 216-664-3476. Thanks for watching TV20's Weekly News Wrap-Up. I'm Leah Haslage. Stay tuned for reporter Christian Patterson with the Inside Sports Report.